r/askreddit. Teachers at Reddit, what is the funniest thing you've ever heard a student say? One time I was asking students their birthdays. One boy told me that his birthday was the 31st of September. I tried to explain that this was not possible, but he insisted. Later, I looked it up. I then informed him that his birthday was the 17th of November. He looked at me kind of confused and said, "Oh." Then his face brightened and he said, "Well, last year I know it was the 31st of September." Sounds like something his dad made up when he was being annoying lol. Source, I'm a dad. I teach elementary band. One time we were preparing for a challenging playing test and a student said, "Man, I need to practice." Without missing a beat, the kid next to him says, "My mom says I need Jesus." Jesus. Besides being called mom numerous times, I've been called grandpa once. I'm female. I did taekwondo when I was a kid, and when I was spacing out and a teacher called on me, I shot up and yelled, "Yes sir." Was fucking embarrassing. I cringe to this day. As a male teacher, I have been called mom way too many times. Was tutoring after school a couple years ago. A kid asked, "What time is it?" I joked, "Time for you to get a watch." He responded, "Time for you to get a new joke," without a moment's hesitation. I had to laugh at getting shown up by a 5th grader. 2 reading levels behind but witty as hell. Whenever one of mine is behind in academics but witty in conversation, it always gives me hope. I was at a store one time looking at a watch display. Someone came up to me and asked me if I knew the time. I pointed at the watches and said, "Time for you to get a watch." They scowled at me and walked away. I mean, come on, I was in the watch section. What did they expect? Wore a Captain America shirt to school since the student council had a superhero day. A student said I looked like Captain America before the injections. At least he didn't call you fat. Not a teacher, but when I was in middle school, our teacher started the day by ranting about how kids these days need to go outside more to get vitamin D because it'll make them not depressed and a lot happier. Halfway through the class she gets into an ungodly rage, probably about something trivial. The minute she's done, without skipping a beat, my buddy says, "Why don't you go outside and look at the sun?" The class starts dying with laughter, but the teacher doesn't find it so funny. He actually got suspended for that one. I had a teacher who would rant about how unhealthy the food we were eating was. Went on and on about how chips and gummies and our lunches in general was packed full of sugar. After she gave us our assignment, she sat down and sneakily ate a whole Aero chocolate bar. No one in class let her live that down when she started on the same tangent. So I have a blood sugar issue, and when I don't eat I become very short-tempered. I was teaching a small group of 9th graders and I'd missed lunch, and normally they are super funny, but I wasn't having it that day. Part way through class I stopped what I was doing and I apologized for being so grumpy with them. I wasn't normally grumpy. A few weeks go by and I had missed like much again. Not 10 minutes into the class, one of my students asked if I had eaten and then proceeded to pull a baggie filled with snacks and candy bars on it out of his bag. Written on the bag it said, "Mrs. So-and-so emergency stash." Those kids were absolutely amazing. In HS, my buddy and I were making up a physics lab after school and he was ranting about a girl. At the end of his story he goes, "Anyways, girls suck," and my physics teacher runs in from his office that was attached to the room and gleefully says, "Only the good ones," and immediately goes back to grading or whatever he was doing. Top 5 hardest I've ever laughed in my life. One time a kid asked me what I wanted to do when I grow up. Holy shit, that's absolutely barbaric. Ouch. Middle school field trip to a different state. One of the chaperones, a large black woman, wanted to get in a little nap in the backseat of the bus, so she made one of the students move to a seat in the front that was far from his friends. He got in the seat and started sulking. He was normally a pretty lively kid, so I leaned forward and asked, "Dude, what happened?" To which he replied, "I think I just got reverse." Rosa Parks said. Am I the only one thinking that the easiest place to get a nap in on a middle school bus would be away from all of the middle schoolers in the front? Here's my absolute favorite story I have not yet told on Reddit. I had a student who was a newcomer, just moved to the US, almost no English, from Latvia. This kid is very bright and was one of my favorite 6th graders ever. We were having our annual jogathon, which is linguistically and culturally not translatable from Latvian. Student: so I pay you and you make me run? Me: yeah, that's actually how it goes. Student: this is simple. I don't pay you, you don't make me run. Me: I wouldn't make him run. He looked at the system and pointed out how stupid it is. In Soviet Latvia, jogathon pays you. I have a fantastic story for this. TLDR at the end. I'm not a teacher, but when I was in 8th grade we had a teacher who was pregnant and often chewed us out. She taught us in an elective class that was basically for fun projects and creative learning. The class was a reward for students who scored highly enough on exams. Not that we were saints by any means, but the way she was rather mean toward us wasn't appropriate looking back. One day she gave us an extended lecture on how tomorrow's historical society PowerPoint presentations were to be of the utmost seriousness. God help us if we don't treat this like our lives depend on it. So naturally, our class clown hatches a brilliant idea. He memorizes word for word his entire PowerPoint on some ancient culture, makes some edits, and the next day very seriously turns the flash drive over to her. He starts, and he has, unbeknownst to anyone, changed the entire PowerPoint font to Wingdings, which is just random symbols. He proceeds to do the entire presentation with dead-faced stoicism while we all laugh. She said nothing. The following Monday she had resigned and requested a transfer to another school. Our favorite teacher replaced her, making it the best class we all would take. All hail the Wingdings guy. Edit TLDR. Kid memorized and gave an entire PowerPoint in Wingdings and it caused a teacher to quit. I just read the TLDR and it made me read the story. I live in Reading. During the car fire last year, we weren't sure how long the school would be open. The air quality was awful and hot, burnt leaves and ash were raining down. My kids were all tuned into the radio, trying their hardest to figure out what was going on. The radio said that Highway 299 was closed. One of my kids, about 6 years old, instantly had this look of panic on his face and asked me 911 is closed. I just about peed my fucking pants laughing. You live in Reddit? I teach sophomores. One day, this girl was sitting at her desk, looking very concerned, and obviously wanted to ask me something. Finally, she blurted out, "Did anybody else see the moon in the sky during lunch? It's supposed to be out at night. Something is wrong." This would be funny if you taught first graders. With sophomores, it's just sad. Pre-K, a kid was squirming as we line up to go to lunch. I asked if he needed to go to the bathroom. He says no, but keeps squirming. I ask if he's sure that he doesn't need to go and if he's okay. His reply, "I'm okay. It's just that my penis is so big, he had an erection." As a nanny, I took care of twin boys. One morning when they were 4, they were eating breakfast while I tidied the kitchen and one boy says to the other, "It happened again." I woke up and my peanuts were standing straight up. The other boy says, "Happens all the time." I about died laughing. 4-year-olds talking about morning wood. And no, we didn't teach them peanuts. They had just both misheard penis. I worked in an inner-city school. First day, I got around hard to pronounce names by calling out last names to check attendance, and asking my kiddos what name they preferred. And explained even nicknames were okay, so long as parents knew who I would be calling about. I get to one particularly dark-skinned young man and he says something that sounds like "Black boy." I look around and no one is laughing. I ask him to repeat himself a couple of times and finally and clearly says, "Black boy." Rest of convo went like this. Me laughing, "Black boy? You want me to call you black boy?" Him, totally serious, "Yeah, everyone calls me that. Even my grandma." Me, "So let me get this straight. When I need your attention you want me, a white guy, to shout out, 'Hey black boy, come here. Hey black boy, sit down. Hey black boy, pay attention.'" Other kids finally realize what I've been laughing about and start to laugh too. Him, "Yeah, said like I'm an idiot." Me, "You're just trying to get me fired, aren't you?" Him, "So you're not gonna call me black boy?" Me, "I can't, man. You got another nickname?" Him, "How about monkey?" We settled on BB for the year. He was absolutely trying to get you fired. Him. How about monkey? This is like sitcom level gold. Teacher to student, were you in class yesterday? Student, sounding more lost than anything and probably answering too honestly, physically. Question mark? It wasn't so much an attempt at humor as just the summation of how we all felt in that class. One of those it's funny because it's two true things. We all were showing up, we were all sitting in the class physically. But being there? That was another question. Some quotes from preschool, elementary, after school daycare. I love macaroni and cheese. They live on a farm. 3-year-old boy. What's my dog doing right now? Another 3-year-old boy at lunchtime. We have strict rules about kindergarten monkey bars because they're really high up compared to the other monkey bars at the school. Basically we want to make sure no one slams into anyone else and falls. 5-year-old boy says to me, you can go this direction on the monkey bars. But you can never, ever go the opposite way. During winter break, some kids and 2 teachers were talking about rumors, including one I heard when I was a kid about a girl who stuck a worm down the school drinking fountain. A 6-year-old looks at me and says, worms aren't sorry when they die, full stop. Same 6-year-old, after a little girl found a plastic dolphin on the ground. She found it on the ground and she's keeping it. That's what robbers do. On Fridays, preschool and kindergarten get their faces painted in the afternoon. Most kids want to be dinosaurs or fairies or unicorns. One little girl asked to be God. A 4-year-old boy said he has a dog named Holly. One of the teachers said something like, "Hi huh. Does your dog ride a motorcycle?" and the kid answered sincerely, "No. He can't talk." 6-year-old boy on the monkey bars was kinda blurting out whatever popped into his head. He was talking about puppies, and then about guppies, and said the guppy is on the monkey bars. The guppy can't breathe. The guppy is suffering with the biggest smile on his face. Just then, this one loose cannon mid-20s co-worker of mine straight up hopped the fence to pick some mushrooms and show them to the kids. Just total chaos everywhere. Some 2nd and 3rd grade boys were doing the under the table challenge, which they made up, where you sit under a table and that's the challenge. I look down and a 2nd grader with eyes like dinner plates is mumbling something to me. I asked him 3 times what he was saying and finally he goes, "Did you know there was a guy who pulled a refrigerator with his teeth?" I'm a 27-year-old woman. On my first day working there, a kindergartner walked up to me and said, "Are you a mom or a dad?" Anyway, those are the best ones off the top of my head. I ran workshops over school holidays. A little girl, 5, got her fingers stuck in the plastic netted holes of her chair. She didn't tell me for 2 hours because apparently her big sister, 8, sitting next to her said you never see people walking around stuck to chairs because they send them all to a big island. Everyone who gets stuck in something is sent there because it's too hard to work or study anymore. The furniture they're attached to get in the way. I found out because eventually the little girl needed to pee and she started crying and asking me not to take her away from her mom and dog. Poor thing. Taught ESL for a year. Had an adorable 6-year-old who could not say clock. We worked 4 weeks at it with her. She just could not say it. "Poppy, what time is it?" "It's 6 o'clock. I couldn't help but laugh every time. I hope this comes out right since it is being typed. I had a student run up to me and say, "Exaggerated American accent. I am half American," and exaggerated proper British accent, half English. I thought I would die laughing. I teach high school, and one of my sophomores referred to merry-go-rounds as miracle rounds. He legit thought that's what they were called. I corrected him and he refused to believe me, lol. I'm not a teacher, but I heard one of my classmates ask another, "Are you Asian or Chinese?" When I was volunteering as an English teacher in Mongolia, one of my innocent 4th graders said, in perfect English, "Star-strewn teacher, motherfucker." I burst out laughing, which inspired the other 20+ little ones to repeat motherfucker, motherfucker, motherfucker. I had to explain that this was an IKH muahay very bad word. I suspect the student had been at the local internet cafe playing violent American video games and had heard this word enough times that he wanted to inquire as to what it meant. 1st grade. 6 years. Old lil dude about 3 feet. Tall and 80 pounds. Walks in late from recess. Me. Why you late? Kid. Grabs his hunk of belly with both hands like a ball of cream cheese and says the ladies love this. Sits down like nothing happened with no smile. High school aquatic science. Lesson on whales. After discussing the sperm whale, a girl asked, is that why the ocean is so salty? Me. Can anyone tell me some of the things we get from farms? 4th grader. Hamburgers. Me. Okay. Sort of. If we take a hamburger apart, what all do we get from a farm? 4th grader. Hamburgers come from hamburger farms MRS. I read about it online. Didn't your family die already? A 4-year-old asked me this out of nowhere. So many things. But a couple of favorites. 13-year-old student. I know that this isn't math, but I can't remember. Is ham a fruit or a vegetable? Another time I was sharing information about math and art and mentioned Leonardo da Vinci. A student said, the pizza guy. I was confused, but later she said, see? The pizza party. We were looking at the Last Supper. 6-year-old kindergarten student. My nana lives are in Las Vegas. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, but my mom is in jail. We were talking about cheaters. Some kid said he could beat a cheater in a race. The class predictably laughs and the kid shuts up. A minute later he just turns around and says, I can beat a fat cheater in a race. Michelangelo's sculptures look like dudes with boobs slapped on them. One of the many I have in my book of crazy shit kids say. Yes, the book's real. I'll take pics if this gets any traction. Teaching 7th grade language arts. Failing at trying to put together a Socratic circle. One student was leaning over his desk and stretching, letting his arms hang over the desk. Other student, you got some long ass arms, boy. Also, during a writing assignment where they were supposed to choose an object, they would be fast food because first you love me then I kill you. I had to tell him it was inappropriate, but it was a creative answer. At the time I was teaching middle school math and we were going through solving 2-step equations. We came to the point of having the students making their own real world problems for them to solve and then have a partner solve the problems each made. The one caveat I put on the activity was that each situation had to be appropriate. One student then chimes in with, so, that means we can't make a question about dead hookers, right? It was extremely difficult not to laugh in front of a classroom full of 13 and 14-year-old middle schoolers. My stepmom still brings this up 7 years later. Not a teacher, but my English teacher was talking to the class and it somehow morphed into a discussion about money. Teacher, if I cared about money, I wouldn't be doing this job. Kid, but MS, don't you have to take a lot of your work home with you? Teacher, yeah we do. Kid, if I had to do that, I'd kill myself. One time my student said, can you ask my dad if it's okay that I want you to my real mom? I said, you have a wonderful mom, and he said, but it's not you. I wish you could put me to sleep at night, BC, I would feel so good. I never forget this or the job I signed up for.